It's Glenn from Glenn'sCarCollection.com, and today we're reviewing one of my favorite BMWs, M340i. Now, if you follow the channel, you know I just ended my lease of a Portimao Blue M340i X-Drive, which I leased. It was a 2020. I leased it for 3 years, got a great deal on it for COVID. This is the new and improved version, updated iDrive, updated everything. And we'll see if this is as good as my car was. I love my car. I thought for the price as tested, for $67,000, it's probably the best car you could buy in the category. Now this car happens to be exactly $67,000 again. So did they not raise the price? Well, they did, but this car is actually rear drive. As you can see from the California plates, this car must have started out on the West Coast. So this is not X-Drive with all season run flats like I had. These actually have summer tires, Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, which I have on my S2000, which I love, and a rear drive. So I think this car is gonna drive totally different, which will be great, because if you remember, the one thing I hated about my car was the run flat tires. They didn't handle well, they were harsh. So I'm really looking forward to driving this car. Now, why isn't this car blue? Well, this is actually a press car from BMW. So special thanks for BMW for allowing me to have this car for a few hours. This color is called Skyscaper Gray. So not to be confused with some of the other grays they have there that we've done on the channel before, like the M2, but this is a really nice color. So let me show you the interior. This has a red interior, which I think looks phenomenal with the car. Now I've done, backseat room is exactly the same. I've done videos on this. I did probably about 12 videos on my 2020 car. Essentially it's the same except for the updated iDrive and electronics. So you could watch videos on there where I get in depth and everything. But you could fit easily 2 adults in the back, probably 3, it's a 5-seater. You got a very spacious trunk. And as you see here, there's no X-Drive, right? So this is actually the rear drive version. And when I saw the tires were Pilot Sport 4S's, I thought that was awesome. Huge trunk here. I easily fit my hockey bag. You can easily fit 2 golf bags. All right, so let's go inside the car and we'll go over the infotainment and the tech, and then we'll take it for a drive and watch to the end of the video, and I'll give you a comparison which would I would take, this car or my 2020 Portimao Blue X-Drive. All right, so now we're inside the car, so we'll start it up because it's very hot. So the start-stop is the same as it was for my car, but if you look closely, what you'll notice right away is the shifter is different. So I had the bigger shifter to go in reverse drive, not here. Now I'm gonna, it's a very hot day, so I'm gonna lower the fan speed here just so we could not melt, but also you can hear it. So this is the one big difference right off the bat, besides this huge screens here, or 2 screens put together, is they totally changed, and I'm already used to it. It almost looks like the key, right? The front of the key here. And then you can go in reverse drive. You can hit it again for sport. Everything will turn red when you go into sport. Again for drive. If we keep hitting it, we'll see S, that's in first gear of sport, and regular drive. It's an 8-speed torque converter automatic, so the parking button I think looks different to me too. I think mine was bigger, and you still have the parking brake right here. One thing I never used in my car was Eco Pro. Then you have Comfort and Sport. When we put it in Sport, everything turns red and the engine gets louder. So we'll go to Comfort, go back to Sport, watch it turn red, and you'll hear a little deeper tone. There you go. So we'll start out in Comfort and then we'll go into Sport. We can configure everything individually. So backup camera, if we put it in reverse, automatically brings up our backup camera. I'm going to take the parking brake off. If we go back, you'll hear it beeping. See, it goes green, yellow, and then red. Put it in park to stop it. It also tells us where we are in the space. I had this 360 camera, which I really liked it. This is optional. I think you get a regular backup and then optional the 360. So here it even will tell you with the doors. We're in the middle of 2 parking spaces because I didn't want the white line to be in the camera. But if we were in one space, it would show us if the doors opened up and how it would affect in front. So we can go in front now. We can change the cameras to the front. We could change it to the side, whatever we need to do here. There's also a 3D view where we can see the car, and we can go to almost any side of the car by pressing the button on the right screen here. We want to see the driver's side quarter. We can go back there. We want to see what's directly in front of us. Maybe there's a speed bump. We can see what's there. We want to see what's directly behind us. It could be a wall or something, and we can see right there. So very excellent use of cameras here. Also car wash mode. If you're not sure how to line up your car in the car wash, why would you take your car to an automatic car wash anyway? But if you did, you can line up right on the rails, no problem there. Backup assistant, I think it remembers like your last 20 seconds backing up. If you were in a tight space, say in a parking garage, and you want to get back, it also can do automatic parallel parking for you. Those are all options. You have your controls here. So this is for cruise controls. Lane assist is optional, and this is for, say, your Bluetooth. You get a call, you can make it louder or softer. Same thing with the radio. Love this interior here. I wish mine was two-tone. So mine was just the black Vinasker leather interior, which was like a $1,500 option. I believe this car has that as well, but it's two-tone, which I really, really like. The stereo system is very good. It's got the optional stereo system here. I highly recommend it. That's what I had in my car. You get some tweeters in the A-pillars here. You can play around with climate control. Now, no hard buttons here, so that's the biggest difference. You got the two screens, and we had the counterclockwise for us. Now you have the different screens here. If you remember, you could see my video of the M340 where you'll see those differences. I'm going to raise this just to play around with it. So no hard buttons. Before my car, the 2020 version, and this is all new for 2023. So if you like what my 2020 had, you can even get a slightly used 2022 and have all the infotainment mine did. So this doesn't give you the 8 buttons here, which was good because you can serve it for not only radio stations, but different controls and stuff like that. Now it gets a little more complicated. If you're into tech, you'll love this. If you're older and not into tech, or you're just not into tech, it may take some getting used to. So far we've been averaging almost 34 miles to the gallon. So BMW says the average is 26 with about 31 on the highway. We've been doing that. We have the same horsepower, 382 horsepower, 369 foot-pounds of torque from an electric assist turbocharged inline 6. And you can even add a widget here. So if you want to add something like a hard button for something that you always use, you can certainly do that. This gives you the time, the traffic, whatever you need there. So you kind of have some buttons here, rear defroster and front defroster, but you really have to say go into home. Let's just go home here. We can go into maps, so that gives us navigation, maps. We could find all different things. So the good news is it is a touchscreen, so I can move it around here. There's different vehicle apps you can get. If I want to go in the HVAC, there is a hard, it's not necessarily a hard button, but you could certainly press it there, and that gives you all your settings. So it's really powerful if I put in max air conditioning. But one thing to notice, I'll take it off now so it'll slow down, is you need the automatic program on. It could be confusing. It would be like auto if the air conditioning controls were down here. So you put it at 65, 70 degrees, whatever you want, and then you press auto. So without this press, see, I can put it all the way to low right now, and right now it's synchronized for both sides. No air is coming out. Well, how come it's 90 degrees out and there's no air coming out? Well, the reason is we didn't put it on automatic, so you got to remember to do that. So it's a couple extra steps from my car. I don't know if that technology is good or bad. I'll raise it here. But, you know, if you're somebody who's not into tech, this may not be ideal for you, just because you just want to press the button and forget about it. If you drive the car every single time, now is that a 5 or a 3? That's a 540. 540s are very popular in my town. It seems like everyone has one. Again, this is the 6-cylinder turbocharged engine with electric assist. We've done videos on the 330, so you can get a 4-cylinder version of this car. You can't get a manual transmission. I used to love 3 Series with manual transmissions. You can't get a manual transmission unless you step up to the M3 or M4, and those are rear drive only. If you want the all-wheel drive version, you have to get the competition with the higher horsepower. So this has plenty of horsepower for $67,000. I think this is a phenomenal car to have. We'll see how it drives to see if it drives the same, and I'm gonna have a feeling, spoiler alert, it's gonna drive a lot better because we have 4S tires instead of all-season run flats. So this is what you have to get used to here. If you could get used to all of this, I think you should be good. If you're somebody that maybe doesn't want to be bothered, it could be quite cumbersome. And there's different ways to get in here. So you could do it with the dial, you can even press buttons, you can even write letters with the mouse, or this is all touchscreen. So if I want to change all this and do balance, dynamic, whatever I want, I could do that. On a 3 Series, you can't get cooled seats. I think that's a big miss now that the 3 Series is $67,000 with options. They should have cooled seats. You could step up to an M3 and get them, or an M4, but why should you have to? You're spending enough money for this. So I would like to see that. You could do your heated seats in different stages. Air recirculation on a hot day like this, we want to do that. Sometimes we want, of course, fresh air. And then you just have to get used to the gauges here. They're actually pretty good. Again, it turns red, so now your significant other will know what you're doing. Sport, Sport Plus, because it tells everybody in the car that you just went into sport mode. Going into comfort mode, it shows it again, kind of calm, serene scene, and sport is red like fire, like a volcano, a thunderstorm, and so you know what you're getting yourself into. Eco Pro, I'm going to press. I've never pressed that before in my car. I'm going to have a feeling it's going to be green, so let's press Eco Pro, and it is. It's like a greenish blue, an aqua color, very calm, like the ocean or something like that. So again, let's go into comfort to start out, and let's take this for a ride. We're going to do the parking brake just like it was manual, so this would be raising it. You hear the noise there. We're going to push it down to release it just like it was old school, like we had a stick shift car. We're going to put it into drive. We'll go into sport in a second. I drove the car to get here, and I can tell you, just like all modern cars, the steering doesn't have that much feel. Everything's electric, and they try to give kind of a weight to it. But unfortunately, it's just a sign of the time. With electric steering, you don't really get a feel what the tires are doing. When you go into an older car, say like the E46 M3 that I had with hydraulic steering, you know, Jeremy Clarkson would say you could run over a quarter and know if it was heads or tails. All right, so let's take it up some roads up here, drive it in comfort, then we'll change it up to sport mode. Now, what I like about this car is you have a ton of power. Realistically, this is probably one of the fastest cars you're going to encounter, because people aren't driving probably their 911 turbos on the road or GT3 RSs. So you're actually probably faster than every car here. I loved my car around town because that turbo kicks in really low, so you have plenty of power off traffic lights or merging into traffic, and you have a ton of power. Oh, there's just an E92 M3. You have a ton of power to pass those slow cars in the left lane. We'll go around the turn here. So immediately I can feel the difference with these summer 4S tires compared to my run flat all seasons. Now, those run flat all seasons definitely gave a ton of understeer. These 4S's will really follow the road, so you may have some tram lining. So on the highway, the car may feel a bit nervous, and we're going to go at the highway at the end of this video, just because it's going to follow the road with those sticky tires. 4S tires also need a little heat, so if you did get these in your car, which I highly recommend, you would probably have to get a center winter tires, especially living here in the Northeast. Now, living here in the Northeast, all the cars, unless you order them separately, come with all-season run flats and the X-Drive, which is BMW speak for all-wheel drive. This car being from California, I would assume that all the dealers are probably ordering it, maybe still with all-season run flats, but certainly a rear drive car. I had my other car for 3 years, so I know it really well, even though I gave it up a couple months ago when the lease ended. And I can tell you the ride is so much smoother in this car, and I bet you it's because of the tires. You also can get an adaptive suspension for $500, which is similar to the EDC I had in my E90 M3. Just to give you a quick background, if you're new to the channel, well, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell, like and share, and comment on every video. It puts me up in the algorithm. I'll get more BMW press cars. Now, to give you my background, I've had 9 M cars and an M Sport. My M Sport was the 2020 M340i X-Drive. Prior to that, I've owned a couple E46 M3s and M2, which is why I started my channel back in 2017. 1 Series M, Z3 M Coupe, E90 M3, and I'm sure there's a couple M cars I'm forgetting. All right, so the ride is really good. There's a lot to like about this car. Let me tell you, there is so much to like about this car. For the price, I think it competes very well with the Audi and Mercedes. You have a real back seat, which you can fit adults in it. You have a real trunk. The 3 Series has grown. When I went from I saw in my E46 M3 when I bought the M340, and that M340 definitely felt a size bigger. I believe it is the same size as an E39 M5, and actually might even be wider than that car. So once you get used to the size, now it feels small to me because I have the Panamera Turbo. So now this car feels small to me. Now, it doesn't feel as nimble as, say, an M2. And I think if you could get away with a 2-door car instead of a 4-door car, I wouldn't go M4. Where I live in New Jersey is like there's landscapers. You film during the week, it's landscapers everywhere, every nice street. But I would take the M2 probably over this, just because, or 2 Series if I didn't need a back seat, because it's just way more nimble. Even though they weigh similar, this car weighs about 3,800 pounds and an M2 or 2 Series about 3,700 pounds. So they're very similar in weight, even though the 2 Series is smaller in every dimension, especially back seat, and you only have a 2-door, so it's not too easy to get back there. All right, so now we'll take it on for a little highway acceleration and then hit another back road, and I'll give you my conclusion in a few minutes. All right, so we'll go on the highway for a minute. We'll do a little bit of acceleration to see if this car, 0 to 60, BMW claims 4.4 seconds. Now that's because it's rear drive. If this was all-wheel drive, if it was X-Drive, 0 to 60 would drop to 4.1 second. And I'm telling you that's conservative. With my car, I probably got about 3.8, 3.9. So I would assume this car is probably more like 4.1, 4.2. All right, so we're gonna make a left turn here. We'll just go 1 exit on the highway. I really feel a huge difference with these tires. All right, and we could do 1 acceleration here when the road is clear, go up to the speed limit. And here we go. There we go, 0 to 60. And that wasn't even foot all the way down, that was just merging on the highway. So it just shows how practical this car is, how much fun it is to drive. And if you want to drive spiritedly or fast, you can certainly do that. Now we'll put it into sport mode, and that was just regular mode, so we weren't getting the full acceleration. Now we'll be in Sport Plus. We'll get off at this exit, and we'll have some sharp turns here. We could just test the handling. Now you get some burble from that exhaust as I lift off the gas. It's holding us in a higher gear. It is louder. And it kind of has a Jekyll and Hyde personality, which I like. When you got the kids in the car or a family, you could drive it very conservatively and quietly when you want to take the long turn away home, when you're coming back from work and you're a little stressed out. You can certainly do some spirited back roads driving. You see, I always did driving on mine. When I was driving up in the mountains and it would be icy in the winter, I would even do it with the all-season tires, and the car handled fantastically. Now, I've autocrossed these cars through some BMW events, and if you do drive them hard, you will smell the brakes. I didn't really experience brake fade, but that was an autocross, not the track. But you could tell that the brakes were overheated. So if you're going to do track days, you're probably better stepping up to an M3 M4. I would think for regular driving, as much as I would love an M3 M4, this is probably the better car. It's smoother, gets way better gas mileage, more comfortable. It'll have easier running costs. You're not going to have the bigger brakes or tires from an M3 or M4. If you could get away with doing that, I would certainly recommend this car. I think it's a lot sportier than the C-Class. I think it's a lot sportier than the A4. I think it's a really good looking car. And if you don't want to spend $67,000, guess what? You don't have to. My car 2020 with the old infotainment, which is certainly easier to use. I'm sure a lot of people will prefer this because the tech has been upgraded. But you can get, I think my car probably was, after I traded it in and sold it, it came up at a BMW dealer for like 41. And what did I have on that car? 28,000, 30,000 miles. So you could probably maybe even get a slightly used version of this, a 2020 like mine. Who knows, maybe even 39, 40,000 here. And when you compare that to what you can have as a daily driver, all the attributes you want, comfort, fuel efficiency, performance, I think you can't beat an M340. And if you don't care so much about spirited driving, I think you could even do better if you went with the 330 with the 4-cylinder if you don't need the performance. It still has a turbo motor, so it gives you plenty of grunt around town. All right, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Special thanks to BMW for giving me this car. And like, share, and subscribe, and I'll have more videos for you soon. Thanks again for watching. Take care.